Good afternoon, friends. So, coming to the public administration class, in the previous class, right, we have started a discussion on evolution of public administration. We have started a discussion on evolution of public administration, and we have completed the stage 1 in the evolution of public administration, that is, which talks about dichotomy, all right, and we started a discussion on stage 2 in the evolution of public administration, where the principal element of stage 2 is, right, the principles of public administration. It is the principles of public administration, that is stage 2 deals with principles of public administration, right. The underlying element of stage 1 is locus of public administration. So initially in stage 1, the locus of public administration was the main concern of the scholars, that is, the scholars were engaged in identifying the location of public administration, whether public administration is within political science or outside of political science. So ultimately, right, it was held that public administration is outside of politics. The entire stage 1 is influenced by the views of Woodrow Wilson. All right, the entire stage 1 is influenced by the views of Woodrow Wilson. All right, so it is Woodrow Wilson who has recommended for separation of administration from politics. Right, so because of this, right, the public administration has got separated and established itself as a separate academic discipline. All right. So that is stage 1 in the evolution of public administration. Coming to stage 2 in the evolution of public administration, it is principles of public administration. It is a stage of principles of public administration. All right. So in stage 2, the importance, the concern was on focus of public administration. All right. The concern was on focus of public administration. All right. So this is what stage 2, right. So this is what we have discussed in the previous class. All right. So let me start the class. All right. Let me start today's class from this point of stage 2. From this point of stage 2. All right. So stage 2 is mostly influenced by Wilson's ideas. All right. So it is the Wilsonian view, right, that has influenced, right, the stage 2 of public administration. All right. So if you take Wilson has called public administration as a science. All right. So he regarded public administration as a science. All right. Right. He said that, all right, the administration should focus on the 3 E's, that is efficiency, economy and effectiveness in implementation. All right, 3 E's in implementation. The focus was on improving efficiency, economy and effectiveness in implementation, and to improve this efficiency and economy, or the 3 E's, Woodrow Wilson recommended using of principles of public administration, that is, the recommendation was given to implement the principles of public administration. All right. So it is these views of Woodrow Wilson which has influenced stage 2. All right. So based upon the Wilsonian view, the scholars of public administration they were engaged, the scholars of public administration, they were engaged in determining the principles of public administration. Determining the principles of public administration. That is, the scholars, the professors of public administration, they were involved in bringing out different principles that can be applied in public administration, all right. So the application of which will improve 3 E's, all right. So stage 2 of public administration made public administration more closer to management, all right. So in this stage, public administration has become more closer to management. In the second stage, public administration has become more closer to management because the focus was on principles. By giving importance to principles, all right, by focusing on the goals of 3 E's, public administration has become more closer to management, right. So this is what we can say. And by highlighting principles, by giving importance to principles, what was lost is ethical and moral character of public administration, right. The ethical and moral character, was lost in public administration. Though stage 2 is regarded as, right, the peak stage in the evolution of public administration. Though stage 2 is regarded as a peak stage in the evolution of public administration, but still, right, what is lost is the ethical and moral character, because the publicness, the importance of publicness in public administration has been virtually dropped. There was no importance given to what you call publicness in public administration. The publicness in public administration has lost its importance, because of which we can say that, right, the ethical and moral character of public administration has been lost, all right. So these are the these are the trends that we can see in between 1927 to 1937. So in between this period, public administration has become a value free science, right. So the scholars of public administration called PubAd as a value free. It is regarded as a value free science. So public administration has become a value free or a value neutral. So these are the common terms that you see in public administration: value free or value neutral. Alright. So now you may get doubt regarding this value neutrality or value freeness. Alright. Values always denotes normative considerations. Alright. They always denotes normative considerations. That is, it denotes end preferences, end goals or end preferences. Values always denotes end goals or end preferences. Alright. That is the preferences of public administration. So why we regard public administration as an ethical and moral discipline? Why we regard public administration as ethical and moral act? Why it is called as moral act? Because public administration, the primary goal of public administration is to provide all the services to the people. Right? The word public, right? If you take the word public itself determines, right, the needs of people. the needs of people, the needs of society. So public administration is primarily meant for what? Right? Public administration is primarily meant to provide all the services required to the people, everything from basic needs to meta needs, that is from basic needs to growth needs. You take food, clothing, shelter, everything. So it is the responsibility of public administrators to provide all these basic services to the society, basic services to the people. That is the reason why we regard public administration as a moral act. Right? Now, what is that is, if you take the end goals of public administration, what are the end goals of public administration? Serving poor, serving society, right? Promoting welfare, promoting what you call the public good, promoting the public good. So definitely these are the end goals of public administration. So now that is what meant by values, right? So these are the values, or these are the normative considerations. In public administration we always use these words, right? In each and every topic, I use the word of normative considerations, I use the word of values. Values or normative considerations, both are same. There is no difference between these two, right? So public administration has what we call certain normative considerations. Public administration has values in it. What are the values? These are the values. These are the values, right? So value oriented, value laden. So normally we use these words in public administration. Value laden or value oriented. That means what? Public administration is concerned with these values. It is a value based. Public administration is a value based activity, value laden activity, value oriented activity. Now in second stage, in a second stage, whether these values are given importance, right? Because of increased importance to principles, the values were not given importance, right? So by second stage, right, public administration, in public administration these values were missing. No importance was given to these values. That is the reason why we say public administration has a value free. It is free from all these values, right? By second stage, public administration has become a value free science. That means there is no importance given to values, there is no importance given to normative considerations. Alright, so can we really separate normative considerations from public administration? If we separate normative considerations from public administration, will there be any importance to public administration? If we remove these normative considerations, if we remove these end goals, what is the difference between public administration and private administration? What is the difference between public administration and business administration? Will there be any difference? There is no difference. So the hallmark of public administration, is its values, right? The hallmark of public administration is its normative considerations. That is the importance, that is the hallmark of public administration. If these are removed, there is no importance to public administration. But what happened in second stage? In second stage, what happened? Values were totally missing. There was no importance to values, there is no importance to normative considerations. That is the reason why in second stage we say that public administration has become a value neutral, value free science. Right? Do you accept with me or not? Yes or no? Definitely we can say that it has become value free or value neutral. Alright? So that is the effect of second stage. Alright? So the second stage, by giving importance to principles, of public administration, by giving importance to principles of public administration, these values, right? So these values were totally lost, right? So these principles are being drawn from different what you call researches, right? So the scholars of public administration, they have brought principles from different research work. That is, the principles of public administration were right? They were contributed by different individuals or the works of different individuals. So whatever name that I am using now, they are very, very important in the second chapter, not only in second chapter but even for the entire exam. Alright. So I will introduce some names who have contributed what you call the principles to public administration. Alright. So the principles came from scientific management theory. Scientific management theory, alright, which is given by F.W. Taylor, alright, alright. So Taylor is regarded as father of scientific management. And this Taylor has contributed, right? He has contributed principles of scientific management. So he has brought, right, the principles of scientific management theory. So these principles are used in public administration. Right? The principles that were given by F.W. Taylor, they are used in public administration. Okay, this is one. Right? Second main contributor, it is principles of administrative management, right, which are given by Henry Fayol, right. So Henry Fayol in his book Industrial and General Management, right, Henry Fayol in his book Industrial and General Management, alright, he has given 14 principles of administration, alright. So Henry Fayol, so Henry Fayol has given 14 principles of administration. He has given 14 principles of administration, alright, so which are used in public administration, alright. So Mooney and Rayleigh in their book Onward Industry, alright, Mooney and Rayleigh in their book Onward Industry, they have given certain principles. They have given principles of organization, alright. Similarly, Gullick and Arwick, even they have contributed what you call certain principles of administration. That means, right, the works of these individuals have provided principles of public administration. So though it is given by different individuals, but in public administration we are using these principles. Alright. So if you take these principles, these principles are being brought by having a mechanical understanding of organization, right. So these thinkers or these what you call researchers, they have adopted mechanistic approach. Mechanistic mechanical approach and physical approach, right, physiological approach. This is very, very, very important. Right? This analysis is very important to know. Right? Your entire answer writing, your entire explanation depends upon this. So these principles, they are being brought by using mechanistic approach, mechanical, physical, and physiological approach. Alright, they took a deterministic view of every individual in the organization. Alright, they took a deterministic view. They took a deterministic view of every individual in the organization. Just a minute. So now you are seeing a different words: mechanistic approach, physiological approach, deterministic view of individuals. So all these are new to you, right? So most of the people, right? Most of the people who are listening to PubMed class for the first time, right? These are the words which they are hearing for the first time, right? So let me explain all these elements. So second stage, right? Second stage is mainly influenced by classical approach adopted. Stage 2 is mainly influenced by this classical approach adopted. So classical approach means simply it is the mechanical approach, physical, mechanical, physiological approach. Alright, that means here every say for example scientific management theory. Alright, so F.W. Taylor has given his principles by observing the work of workers in industrial organization, that is work of workers in in the Midwell Steel Company. So he was the chief engineer in Midwell Steel Company. So it is his observations in the Midwell Steel Company, observation on the working of workers. So how workers worked, right? So based upon his experience and based upon his observation, he has given the principles. Even if you take this Henry Fayol, right? Even he is an engineer, right? He was observing the what you call industrial organizations. That means these principles were brought by observing the workers in the industrial organizations. First of all, that you should remember. It is purely based upon the working of workers in the industrial organization. Alright. So, working of workers. So here they expected every worker to behave like a machine. What do you mean by mechanical approach? Right? Every worker is required to work like a machine. That means what? There is no human emotions to the individual. Every worker in the organization, they need to do the work with the same amount of efficiency. Right? They need to follow the principles, they need to follow the rules of organization, and at every point of time, they should work in a similar way. There should be same kind of efficiency. There is no question of decreasing in efficiency. If there is underperformance of the workers, will the workers be allowed to stay in the organization? No. When there is underperformance, the workers are simply thrown away. The workers are simply thrown away from the organization. That means as long as the workers worked according to the given output, That means at every point of time, the workers are required to have the same kind of output. If there is a decrease in the output, right, the workers are simply fired out. So to have same kind of output, when you can get same kind of output? Only when there is, only when the worker work like a machine. Only when the workers work according to the given set of mechanical principles. That is what you call Taylor believed. It is only then the organization can make profits. Right? When profits are made by the organization, for every industrial organization, what is important? Do they think about welfare of workers? For them it is outcome, productivity and profits. Productivity and profits are two main things. Productivity depends upon what? The work of the workers. When there will be increased productivity? Only when workers work more. Only when workers work like a machine. So mechanical approach means simply it is man as a machine approach. Man as a machine approach. It is man as a machine approach. That is what mechanical approach means. Alright. So every worker is required to work like a machine, right, in order to increase productivity. So the purpose of scientific management theory, is only to increase productivity, thereby increasing profits. Right. So man as a machine, right, that is the man as a machine concept. So here there is no importance to the socio-psychological the socio-psychologicalness of the individuals. There is no importance to humanness of the individual. Right? Never importance is given to humanistic aspects. It is only mechanical aspects. So first of all, whether man is a human being or a machine. How should we see the individuals in the organization? Every employee or a worker. Should we see the individuals in the organization, right, as a machine or a man? Ela chudali, right? Oka machine laga chudala, oka worker oka human being laga chudala. Alright? So I want you to give the answers, even the one who are in what you call online. Cheppandi. Human being. Alright? Human being, no machine. So we should not give importance to productivity. We should only give importance to welfare of the good. Alright? So that means, so good to see these responses. Alright? So man should be seen, that is, alright, worker should be, that is, should be seen as a human being first, then he should be made to work. So we should not neglect, because right, when humanness is not given importance, right, no, it is not possible for the individuals to work. Right? So most of the principles, the purpose for giving this explanation is, alright, so it will be helpful to understand the third stage. So you will come to know this in third stage. Right? So second stage gave importance to this mechanical approach. So every principle is brought by having a mechanical understanding of workers. Right? Every principle is brought by having a mechanical understanding. ఏమైంది జోక్ గుర్తుకొచ్చిందా ఏంటిది అది చెప్తే నేను కూడా నవ్వుతా కదా రైట్ సో every human beings should, that is every worker in the organization, should work like a machine. Right? It should every human individual in the organization, right, they should be seen as a human being but not as a machine. That is, but instead of this, right, the classical thinkers, the classical approach. So classical approach means it is, right, having a mechanical approach of understanding individuals. That is, taking man as a machine. right? So this is how the principles are brought. You take principles of scientific management or principles of administration or principles of organization, whatever the principles given in this in this period, right? They took what you call the mechanical approach. They took a mechanical approach in bringing out the principles. Am I clear? So this is about the second stage. All right. So whatever the names that we have seen, particularly scientific management theory, most important. You can use Taylor in at least 8 chapters of public administration. అదే చెప్తాను మీకు. If you are strong in thinkers, you can write all the 300 marks. Just by application of thinkers, you can answer all the 300 marks. Right? At the end of the class, you should give me the joke. Alright? సో లేకపోతే ఇప్పుడు నా మైండ్ అంతా అక్కడనే ఉంటుంది. రైట్, కొంపదీసి నా నిద్ర గురించి వచ్చిందే ఇది. రైట్, దట్ ఈస్ ఆల్సో కాల్డ్ యాజ్ మ్యాన్ యాజ్ ఎ మెషిన్ కాన్సెప్ట్. రైట్, సో దిస్ ఈస్ అబౌట్ ది స్టేజ్ 2. రైట్, స్టేజ్ 2 gave importance to principles. Stage 2 gave importance to principles, and these principles I'll explain them in the second chapter, because second chapter right. Now whether principles should be based upon the mechanical understanding of individuals or the humanistic understanding of individuals, what should be the approach that should be used in bringing the principles? Should we bring the principles by having a mechanical approach? Amarnath is so strong, he is so muzzled man, he can work for 10 hours continuously, he can produce 100 kgs of steel, he can cut 100 kgs of steel rods. Amarnath is good enough, he is just like Prabhas of 8 feet with full muzzled man. Okay, even for a muzzled man, right, can't he has emotions? రైట్, నిజంగానే బలం ఉంటుంది, కండ ఉన్నది, అన్నీ చేయగలుగుతాడు. మరి ఆయనకు ఎమోషన్స్ ఉండవా? కండ బలం ఒక్కటే సరిపోతుందా పని చేయడానికి? నేను 8 feet లాంగ్ ఉన్న మజిల్డ్ మ్యాన్, ఐ కెన్ ప్రొడ్యూస్ 100 sheets ఆఫ్ ఐరన్ ఇన్ ఎ డే అంటే ఒకరోజు ఇన్ వన్ డే ఐ విల్ మేక్ 100 sheets. వెదర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ పాసిబుల్ ఫర్ మీ టు టేక్ వెదర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ పాసిబుల్ ఫర్ మీ టు మేక్ 100 iron sheets every day, I will come to your language, I will use your language. Right, you are more intelligent, you can answer, you can write at least 20 answers or 30 answers in a day. You have the capacity of writing 30 answers in a day because you are that intelligent, you have enough information. Right, so today you have written 30 answers, tomorrow you have written 30 answers. Every day it is possible for you to write 30 answers even though you have knowledge. Sometimes, right, your mood may get out, sometimes you may feel unhappy, sometimes you may feel frustrated. So because there are human emotions, there are human emotions which always influence your performance. Though you are skilled, you are calibered, you have ability, but what about human emotions? It will influence your performance. So can we say that yes, every candidate can write 30 answers? Can I say that every UPSC aspirant can write 30 answers in a day? Can I make this as a rule? Though it is a rule, it is not possible, because it is not possible for all the people to write 30 answers in a day, because every individual has their own emotions, every individual has their own humanness, and their humanness, their emotions, their psychological factors, their social factors will always influence them. Though the individual has the capacity of writing 30 answers, they can't write 30 answers because of these socio-psychological factors, because of the socio-psychological influence. Right? So now on what basis this principle should be brought up? Whether this principle should be brought up by having a mechanical understanding of the individuals, or by having by having a socio-psychological understanding of individuals. Socio-psychological understanding of individuals. Alright? Now whether it is always possible to predict human behavior? Whether it is always possible to predict human behavior? నిజంగానే హ్యూమన్ బిహేవియర్ని మనం ప్రిడిక్ట్ చేయొచ్చా? రైట్, నౌ ద వన్ హూ ఆర్ ఇన్ ఆన్లైన్, గివ్ మీ ద ఆన్సర్. whether it is possible to predict human behavior. For first 15 minutes, you will be more attentive to the class. For first 15 minutes, you will be more attentive to the class. In the last 15 minutes, you will keep on seeing the watch. In last 15 minutes, right, though you are interested, though it is required for you, but what does our human emotion says? We keep on seeing the watch. In that time, in the last 5 minutes, in the last 10 minutes, right? And we keep on shuffling our books, right? So that is what human nature. So it is not possible to predict human behavior. Just now you said that principles should be brought by understanding human nature. Well, it is really possible to understand human nature. It is never possible to understand human nature. It is never possible to predict human behavior. When it is not possible to predict human behavior or human nature, how it is possible to bring out the principles just by understanding human behavior? Well, it is possible to bring principles? No, never not. It is not possible. So there are shortcomings. Right? So the point here is, so we will explain all these things in the third stage. So we will learn this in third stage. So coming to second stage, the principles are brought by using this mechanical approach. Yes, these principles are important. These principles we cannot discard it. We cannot reject or we cannot neglect it. These principles are definitely important and they have yielded a very good results in public administration. So though they are given in industrial organizations, but coming to their applicability in administration, applicability in public administration, they have high applicability. Alright. So in public administration, alright. So we will come to know this in other chapters, in administrative reforms, in O&M technique, that is in the 11th chapter of public administration, paper 1 of public administration, right? So you will come to know. So this is what about stage 2, right? So once again I will repeat stage 2, I will just rewind stage 2. Stage 2 gave importance to principles, right? Importance was given to 3 E's, right? Public administration has become more closer to management. It is regarded as value free science, alright. This is on one hand. On the other hand, it has lost ethical and moral character. It has lost normative considerations, right? The publicness of public administration, the publicness has lost its importance. So these were lost and these have gained, alright. So and these principles are brought by using the classical approach. So classical approach means having of mechanical approach in bringing out the principles. ఓకేనా? అర్థమైందా? ఎంజాయ్ చేస్తాను లేదా ఫస్ట్ చెప్పండి. ఆర్ యూ ఎంజాయింగ్ ది సబ్జెక్ట్ ఆర్ నాట్? మార్కులు ఇవన్నీ పక్క పెట్టండి. మీరు సబ్జెక్ట్ ఎంజాయ్ చేస్తే చాలు, ఆటోమేటిక్ మార్క్స్ వచ్చేస్తాయి. రైట్? ఆర్ యూ ఎంజాయింగ్ ద వన్ హు ఆర్ ఇన్ ఆన్లైన్? రైట్? ఎంజాయ్ విత్ గంజాయ్. రైట్? వీళ్ళకి తెలియదు నెట్ నవ్విస్తానా నేను? నవ్వించనా? నవ్విస్తానా లేదా? మీరు నన్ను 3 years నుంచి చూస్తాను కదా, 3 years నుంచి. నవ్విస్తానా నవ్వించనా క్లాస్లో? ఓకే, రైట్. సో this is about second stage. Coming to stage 3 in the evolution of public administration. Stage 3 in the evolution of public administration, which is called as era of challenge. Stage 3 is called as era of challenge. So why it is called as era of challenge? Why stage 3 is called as era of challenge? So what is challenged? ఇది మీరు తెలుసుకోవాలి. సో యూ షుడ్ నో వాట్ ఈజ్ ఛాలెంజ్డ్. What is challenged? So what is challenged? the defining pillars of public administration. It is the defining pillars of public administration or fundamental pillars of public administration. Defining pillars or fundamental pillars of public administration. ఏదో జరుగుతుంది నాకు తెలియకుండా. రైట్, ఏదైనా జరిగిందా? ఏం లేదా? ఓకే. Right, the fundamental pillars are defining pillars of public administration. Right, so what are these defining pillars? Stage 1 and stage 2. The basic themes of stage 1 and stage 2 are rejected. It is basic themes of stage 1 and stage 2 are rejected. So it is rejection of basic themes of stage 1 and stage 2. So Wilson said that pub ads should be separate from politics. Right, what was our conclusion? Right, okay. Now just now we said that these principles are broad based upon mechanical understanding. So just can we have the mechanical approach to understand the individuals? No, that is the answer. Why it is challenge means it is because of these reasons. Right, so it is the basic themes. It is the basic themes of public administration, that is the stage 1 and stage 2. All right. Stage 3 has challenged, alright, they have challenged the fundamental pillars of public administration, that is stage 1 and 2. They have challenged dichotomy. They have challenged dichotomy as well as principles. Both these were challenged. Both dichotomy and principles were challenged. So there was a severe challenge. There was a severe challenge to both dichotomy and principles. Right. So this challenge came mainly from humanistic thinkers and behavioral thinkers. Humanistic thinkers and behavioral thinkers. Mainly it is behavioral thinkers. Right. Behavioral thinkers who have challenged dichotomy and principles. Right. So if you take this humanistic school, it was led by Elton Mayo. It is Elton Mayo through his Hawthorne experiments. Right. Hawthorne experiments. Alright, so Elton Mayo is regarded as father of humanistic approach or father of human relations theory. Right, Elton Mayo is regarded as father of human relations theory because he is the one who has brought the importance of human relations in the organization. It is Elton Mayo who has brought the importance of human relations, right? He has brought the importance of humanistic aspects, in the organization. Right. So he has brought the importance of individualism or individual and his relations. Right. So that is what Elton Mayo. And coming to behavioral school, it was led by Herbert Simon. The main personalities in this behavioral approaches, it is Herbert Simon, Robert Dahl, right, and most importantly C.I. Bernard. Most important is C.I. Bernard. right? Simon is regarded as father of decision making theory, right? Bernard is regarded as father of behavioral approach, right? Bernard is regarded as father of behavioral approach. Herbert Simon is regarded as father of decision making, right? Father of decision making. Okay. Right. So it is this humanistic school as well as behavioral school who have challenged dichotomy and principles, right? So mainly by Herbert Simon, right? So Herbert Simon has criticized dichotomy and said that public administration cannot be separated from political science. So it cannot be separated, and this separation is not desirable, right? So he has questioned the Wilsonian concept of dichotomy, right? So he said that public administration, right, that is policy implementation can be best done only when there is a knowledge of policy. So without having the knowledge of policy, it is not possible to have an effective implementation of policy. And to make effective policy, it requires the knowledge of implementation. So for implementation, it requires the knowledge of the idea of the policy frameworks, right? So you should know the intention of public policy. The policy implementers should know the basic idea of the policy implementers should have the idea of the goals of public policy. They should have a complete idea. On the goals of public policy. So without having the idea on goals of public policy, where it is possible to implement, even though there is an implementation, the policies may not achieve the goals, right? So effective implementation requires knowledge of goals of policy, and this is possible only when the implementers have a role in policy making. That is, unless public administration have a role in policy making, it is not possible to have effective implementation. And effective policy making requires the knowledge of implementation. So there should be an interdependence. There is an interdependence between policy making and policy implementation. So there is an interdependence. Between policy making and policy implementation. All right. So as there is interdependency, right, it is not possible to separate public administration from politics. And in fact, right, Herbert Simon has recommended a case study approach and using of knowledge of all the social sciences, right? So policy making requires policy making or policy implementation, particularly policy making, it requires knowledge of all the social sciences, not just the knowledge of public administration. It requires the knowledge of anthropology, sociology, law, economics. So all this knowledge is required for having effective public policies. So public policies cannot be made without the knowledge of all these social sciences. So this is the argument of Herbert Simon. That means, right, all these social sciences have an interdependent role. You cannot separate one from the other. You cannot separate the public administration from political science or any other discipline from political science. So it requires interdependence of all these social sciences. So this is how Herbert Simon has countered dichotomy. So this is the main criticism came from dichotomy, and it is a valid criticism. The criticism given by Herbert Simon is a valid criticism. And coming to principles, Coming to principles, Herbert Simon has totally disregarded these principles. Right? And he said that if there is any theory in public administration, it is the theory of decision making. Right? So he equated the public administration with the decision making process. Public administration ఏదైనా థియరీ ఉందంటే అది డెసిషన్ మేకింగ్ థియరీ మాత్రమే. రైట్. సో హీ రిగార్డెడ్ ది ఎంటైర్ పబ్లిక్ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్, హీ రిగార్డెడ్ ఎంటైర్ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్ యాజ్ అ డెసిషన్ మేకింగ్ ప్రాసెస్. At each and every level, the administrators are required to take decisions. Right? So he has required to take decisions. Right? So and he has disregarded all other approaches. If you want to study public administration, if you want to study administrative process, focus on how decisions are made at each and every level in the organization. Focus on the decision making process in the administration, how decisions are being made, how decisions are being made by administrators. Right? So this should be the focus of public administration according to Herbert Simon. That is the reason why Herbert Simon is regarded as father of decision making. ఓకేనా? అంటే పబ్లిక్ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్ అంటేనే డెసిషన్ మేకింగ్. సో మీరు పబ్లిక్ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్ గురించి తెలుసుకోవాలి అంటే డెసిషన్ మేకింగ్ ప్రాసెస్ గురించి తెలుసుకోండి. ఆర్గనైజేషన్స్లో అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్స్లో డెసిషన్స్ ఎలా తీసుకుంటున్నారు, ఏ ఫ్యాక్టర్స్ డెసిషన్స్ ఇన్ఫ్లుయెన్స్ చేస్తున్నాయి. సో ఫోకస్ ఆన్ ది ఎంటైర్ డెసిషన్ మేకింగ్ ప్రాసెస్. Right? And he has totally rejected this mechanical approach for deriving the principles. Right? So Simon has rejected this classical approach. He has rejected classical approach or the mechanical approach. Classical approach or mechanical approach in what we call decision in the bringing of principles. And he has advocated a new approach called as logical positivism. Right? So Herbert Simon has recommended empirical along with normative. The same time he has recommended the approach of logical positivism in bringing out the principles. What do you mean by logical positivism? Political science. Alright? So logical positivism means using of a scientific approach in deriving the principles. So what do you mean by scientific approach? Alright, giving all the principles should be based upon the observable facts. Those facts that can be observed, those facts that can be proved. Right? Those facts, right, that can be not only proved, that brings a same results. Repetition of results, we call it as a repetition of the same result. So use such kind of facts. Right? So those observable facts, అంటే కంటికి కనపడేది, వినపడేది, చూసేది, మనకు కనిపించేది చూడండి, మన కంటికి కనిపించేది, మనకు వినిపించేది, మనం ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ చేయగలిగే ఫ్యాక్ట్స్ మీదనే ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ బేస్ చేసి ఉండాలి. కానీ మన ఇమాజినేషన్లో మనకు కనపడనిది, మనం చూడనిది, మనం ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ కానిది, ఒక ఊహలో ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ చేయడానికి వీల్లేదు. ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ అన్నవి ప్రాక్టికల్గా ఉండాలి కానీ రైట్ అజంప్షన్స్లో ఉండకూడదు. యూ కెన్ నాట్ అజ్యూమ్ అ సిచ్యువేషన్, యూ కెన్ నాట్ అజ్యూమ్ ది ఇండివిజువల్స్ అండ్ యూ కెన్ నాట్ మేక్ అ ప్రిన్సిపల్ బై అజంప్షన్స్, ఇన్ అజంప్షన్స్. Every principle that you are making, it should be based upon observable facts. That is what scientific approach. When the principles are based upon observable facts, you can see the same kind of result. What do you mean by scientificism? When it is called as scientific, when the same result is achieved, when you see the same kind of outcome, అదే రిజల్ట్ అంటే ఎన్నిసార్లు ఆ ప్రిన్సిపల్ అప్లై చేసినా అదే అవుట్కమ్ ఉండడము. రైట్? దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ సైంటిఫిక్ అప్రోచ్. రైట్? మనకు ఉన్నది కదా, యాసిడ్ ప్లస్ బేస్ ఈజ్ ఈక్వల్ టు జీరో న్యూట్రాలిటీ, అంతే కదా. యాసిడ్ ప్లస్ బేస్ కెమిస్ట్రీలా మర్చిపోయినాం కదా. ఓకే. సో pH values, alright. So change in the color, alright. When you throw a stone in the air, what will happen? Will it go up or will it come down? Always or only sometimes? Always. Repetition of same result. If I slap you, will you slap me or not? If I keep on slapping you, will you slap me or not? ఒకసారి కొడితే మీరు తిరిగి రియాక్షన్ ఇవ్వకపోవచ్చు. అదే 10 సార్లు కొడితే ఎప్పుడో దగ్గర మండుతుంది కదా, మండినప్పుడు కొడతారా అదే మరి. అంటే చూడండి, సో నో, దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ హ్యూమన్ బిహేవియర్ ఈస్. యూ కెనాట్ ప్రిడిక్ట్. మీరు తిరిగి కొడతారా అనేది మనం ప్రిడిక్ట్ చేయలేము. అదే రాయి పైకేస్తే ఈ 2 సార్లు వేయండి, ఎక్కడైనా వేయండి, ఇట్ విల్ హ్యావ్ ద సేమ్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ రియాక్షన్. So you should make a principle based upon the observable facts. That is what Herbert Simon said, right? Simon says that principles should be based upon what you call scientific approach. That is by focusing on observable facts. So this is called as empirical approach. Empirical approach means that giving importance to the observable facts. దానికి ఆపోజిట్ ఏంటిది? నార్మేటివిజం, విచ్ వి కాంట్ సీ, విచ్ కాంట్ బి అబ్జర్వ్డ్, రైట్. సో దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ ది అప్రోచ్ అడ్వకేటెడ్ బై సైమన్. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ మెకానికల్ అప్రోచ్, ఇట్ ఈస్ వాట్ యు కాల్ లాజికల్ పాజిటివిజం. It is empirical approach that should be used in bringing out the principles. That is the reason why Simon has disregarded the mechanical approach and disregarded the principles. He said that these principles are proverbs, right? Simon regarded principles as proverbs. These principles are regarded as proverbs, right? Proverbs is what? What do you mean by proverbs? They can't be seen in reality, which are just seen in assumption or imagination, alright. So which can't be seen in practice, which can't be practically seen. So they are termed as naturalistic fallacies. Alright, he termed these principles as naturalistic fallacies. Alright, so he called them as proverbs, he called them as naturalistic fallacies. Alright, so this is what about the Simon's views on principles. Simon's criticism on principles of administration. ఎందుకు క్రిటిసైజ్ చేసిందంటే ఇది రీజన్. ఎందుకు? అది మెకానికల్ అప్రోచ్ వల్ల తీసుకొచ్చిన ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ కాబట్టి, రైట్. సో అలాంటి ప్రిన్సిపల్స్కి ఎలాంటి వ్యాలిటీ ఉండదు, రైట్. యూ కెనాట్ హ్యావ్ ద సేమ్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ రిజల్ట్స్, right? Because for every principle there is a counter principle, right? Simon says that for every principle there is a counter principle, all right. So that is the reason why he has criticized. I'll explain I'll give one simple example, all right. I'll give one simple example, the same example, all right. So this is an organization, these are different levels in the organization. As the levels of organization increases, what about the specialization? Will specialization increase or decrease? Right? As there is increased division of work, right? So this division of work will increase specialization. That what do you mean by levels of organization? It is division of work. When the work is being divided, automatically there will be increased specialization. So on one hand, the specialization is increased, but what about communication, coordination, control? What about these principles? Will it increase or decrease? So if one principle is given importance, we should compromise on other principles, right? So that means for every principle there is a counter principle. Right? So that is the main defect of principles as given by classical thinkers. This is the main defect of principles as given by classical thinkers. Okay, so this is the criticism of Herbert Simon. Now coming to the another important criticism given by Robert Dahl. Another important criticism given by Robert Dahl, right? So if you take Robert Dahl, so Robert Dahl in his book, The Science of Public Administration, 3 problems, right? So if you take Herbert Simon wrote the book of Administrative Behavior in 1948, right? So all these criticisms given by Herbert Simon, it is given in his book Administrative Behavior in 1948, right? Coming to Robert Dahl, The Science of Administration, 3 problems. The Science of Administration, 3 problems, right? So Robert Dahl has wrote a book, right? Science of Administration, 3 problems, where Robert Dahl has highlighted 3 problems in public administration. He has highlighted 3 problems in public administration, right? 3 problems of principles of administration, right? He has highlighted, Robert Dahl has highlighted He has highlighted 3 problems in the principles of administration. The first problem is the impossibility of excluding normative considerations. The impossibility of excluding normative considerations. All right. One is impossibility of excluding normative consideration. Second problem is it is prediction of human behavior. Predicting human behavior. Prediction of human behavior. And third one is, all right, cross-cultural applicability. Thank you so much. Cross-cultural applicability of principles. The third problem is cross-cultural applicability. Cross-cultural applicability of principles. All right. So these are the 3 problems that are highlighted. Cross-cultural applicability of principles. All right. So these are the 3 problems that were highlighted by Robert Dahl. Impossibility of excluding normative considerations, right? Predicting human behavior, and impossibility of predicting human behavior. And third problem is cross-cultural applicability of principles. All right. So I'll explain each and every point. All right. So these are the 3 problems which act as a hindrance to the claims of science by public administration. So these are the 3 problems, right, which questions the principles of public administration. All right. So first one is impossibility of excluding normative considerations. Impossibility of excluding normative considerations. Alright, say, can we exclude normative concerns from public administration? Can we exclude the values? Just now we have talked about what is normative consideration. ఇంతకుముందు చెప్పినా కదా, వెల్ఫేర్, డెవలప్మెంట్, పూర్ పీపుల్, ఇవన్నీ వాల్యూస్. సో మనం వీటిని మనం కెన్ బి ఎక్స్క్లూడ్ దెమ్ ఫ్రమ్ పబ్లిక్ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్. Can we exclude these normative considerations from public administration? The one who is online, give me the answer. Can we exclude these normative considerations? Offline people are giving the answers. What about online? The one who is in online. Can we exclude them? It is never possible. It is never possible to exclude normative considerations. It is never possible to exclude normative considerations from public administration. It is never possible to exclude normative considerations from public administration. So if you want to make principles, or if you want to claim the status of science, there should not be normative considerations. Alright, so if you want to call yourself as science, if you want to call as scientific one, alright, if you want to have a rational principles, it should be value free. Alright, so value free is a basic feature of a science. Value free is the basic feature of rational principles. Alright, అంటే రేషనల్ ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ ఉండాలన్నా, సైంటిఫిక్ స్టేటస్ ఉండాలన్నా వాల్యూ ఫ్రీ అయి ఉండాలి. మరి పబ్లిక్ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్ వాల్యూ ఫ్రీ సబ్జెక్టా కాదా? కాదు. పబ్లిక్ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్ వాల్యూ ఫ్రీ సబ్జెక్ట్ కాదు. ఇట్ ఈస్ ఆల్వేస్ కన్సర్న్ విత్ ది వాల్యూస్. పబ్లిక్ ఈజ్ ఆల్వేస్ కన్సర్న్ విత్ ది నార్మేటివ్ కన్సర్న్స్ కదా. మరి అలాంటప్పుడు కెన్ యూ సే దట్ దేర్ ఆర్ రేషనల్ ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ ఇన్ పబ్లిక్ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్? You can't say that there are rational principles in public administration. You can't call yourself as a science, right? So until you remove these normative concerns, you cannot have rational principles. Okay, this is one thing. All right, so this is one challenge. Second one challenge is, you are saying that there are principles of public administration which can be applied in the organization, which can be applied on individuals within the organization. Now, and you say that these principles can clearly predict human behavior. You are saying that the principles of public administration can be applied on individuals in the organization and you can predict human behavior. Whether it is really possible to predict human behavior? First of all, these principles are brought by understanding human nature in the organization. If you take the principles of public administration which were given in the second stage, whether that principles are brought by understanding human nature in the organization, right? It is not based upon human nature. The principles are not based upon human nature. They are based upon what? They are based upon mechanical understanding of organization. So how can you use this principle to understand human behavior? You can't use these principles. And whether it is really possible to predict human behavior? Never it is possible to predict human behavior in any kind of settings, whether it is industry, whether it is public office, or in a family, or in a society, wherever it is never possible. Robert Dahl says that it is impossible to predict. Human behavior. So as long as you can't predict human behavior, as long as you cannot predict human behavior, you cannot claim yourself the status of science. You cannot say that you have the principles. Alright, you cannot say that you have a principles. You cannot say that you are a scientific. Alright, so this is the second challenge, that is impossibility of determining the human behavior. Alright, impossibility of determining the human behavior. All right. Third problem is cross cultural applicability of principles. So if you take these principles given by what you call say you take Taylor or Fayol or whatever it may be in the second stage, these principles are brought based upon the understanding of industrial organizations. They are brought based upon understanding of industrial organizations. Okay. Now, can we use these principles of industrial organizations in public service organizations? Can you use them? Do they have the same kind of applicability? Alright? No. How can we expect the same kind of applicability? The industrial settings are different from the public organizations. The end goals of industrial organizations are different from the end goals of public organizations. How can we implement, how can we exactly use the principles given in industrial organizations, principles given in industrial organizations to the public organizations? It is not possible. That is what cross-cultural applicability. So, these principles lack cross-cultural, it lacks cross-cultural applicability. It lacks cross-cultural applicability. Alright. So, ఇంకా 10 minutes ఉంది కదా అంటే కాదు జోక్ చెప్పడానికి. Alright. It lacks cross-cultural applicability. Alright. So, our first introduction of the class, first 15 minutes and last 15 minutes. Alright. The principles which are determined or derived by using one country, can they be used in other countries? Simply, if we take public administration as a discipline got developed in America. Can we apply the American public administration, the theory of American public administration in Indian administration? No. Alright. So, if you take Henry Fayol says that principles are universal. Alright. Right, Henry Fayol, right, who is regarded as father of administrative management theory. Just now we have seen in the second stage. He says that principles are of universal applicable. Now, where is universal applicability? You cannot apply the principles of industries in public organizations. You cannot apply the theory that is developed in one country in the other countries. Why you can't apply? Alright, why you can't apply? Political culture, bureaucratic culture, socio-cultural system. It is totally different. Alright. So, we see a total change in the system. Alright. If you take American conditions, the American conditions are different from Indian conditions. You take any kind of, you take political system, bureaucratic system, economic system, the socio-cultural system, all they are different from America. So, how we can apply a theory of public administration, that is developed in America in India? Can we use directly? We should make difference, we should make modifications, we should change that theory. That means what? These principles lack cross-cultural applicability. So, these are the three problems that are highlighted by Robert Dahl. Alright. So, because of this, right, there was a dent on principles. Right. So, this is a criticism on principles. Dichotomy was criticized, principles were criticized. That means the basic pillars of public administration, the fundamental pillars of public administration got criticized or challenged. That means what? When the basic principles are invalidated, will there be any identity to public administration? That is what fourth stage. Crisis of identity. Because of these criticisms on fundamental pillars of public administration, public administration has lost its identity. The stage 4. If you take stage 4 is about crisis of identity. That is loss of identity of public administration, right? Because of the basic themes, because of these basic themes being challenged, because of the invalidation of these basic themes, the izzat of public administration has gone out. అంతే కదా, ఇజ్జత్ వేరట్టే కదా. ఎవరిది పోయింది? ప్రొఫెసర్స్ది, స్కాలర్స్ది, పబ్లిక్ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్ నమ్ముకున్న నాలాంటి వాళ్ళది. యూపీఎస్సి మేడ్ మీ యాజ్ అ ఫూల్, నిజం చెప్తాను కదా. రైట్, కరెక్టే. రైట్, పబ్లిక్ అడ్మిషన్ తీసుకున్న వాళ్ళందరినీ ఫూల్స్ చేసింది యూపీఎస్సి 10 years నుంచి. ఏమంటే ఆంథ్రపాలజీ కోట్లు ఎవరు సంపాదిస్తారు ఇప్పుడు? ఎవరు కోట్లు సంపాదిస్తారు? ఆంథ్రపాలజీ చెప్పే ప్రతి ఫ్యాకల్టీ దగ్గర 100 మంది స్టూడెంట్స్. పొలిటికల్ సైన్స్, సోషియాలజీ ఢిల్లీలో వీళ్ళు. మరి పబ్బాడ్ జాగ్రఫీ బెగ్గింగ్ ఆన్ రోడ్స్. అంతే కదా. వీ హ్యావ్ బికమ్ ఫూల్స్. రైట్, వీ హ్యావ్ బికమ్ ఫూల్స్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ ద ట్రెండ్స్ ఆఫ్ యూపీఎస్సి. రైట్, సో రిమెంబర్, రైట్, public administration, if you take this public administration has lost its identity. Sir, నేను క్లాస్లో ఉన్నా, మళ్ళీ కాల్ చేయనా? హలో సార్, నేను క్లాస్లో ఉన్నా మళ్ళీ కాల్ చేస్తాను. ఎక్కడ? అవునా, ఓకే ఓకే, చెప్తాను. ఎవరికి? అదే మన ఎక్కడ అంటే మనకు గాంధీనగర్ ఎస్బీఐ స్టాప్ ఉందా? ఎస్బీఐ స్టాప్ ఎస్బీఐ కాదు, ఎస్బీఐ స్టాప్ అక్కడ. మన ఇది ఇందిరా పార్క్ బ్రిడ్జ్ ఉంటుంది చూసినా, అక్కడ ఇందిరా పార్క్ వెళ్ళే వైపు. ఇప్పుడు మీరు ఎక్కడ? అమీగోస్ నుంచి స్ట్రైట్గా రండి. అమీగోస్ నుంచి స్ట్రైట్గా వచ్చేయండి. స్ట్రైట్గా వస్తే మనకు అక్కడ ఒక బస్ స్టాప్ జంక్షన్ వస్తుంది కదా. ఆ జంక్షన్ నుంచి రైట్ సైడ్ విజయ బ్యాంక్ వెళ్ళే రోడ్ ఉంటుంది చూసినా, అక్కడ కొబ్బరి బొండాలు. మెయిన్ రోడ్ నుంచి సెకండ్ బిల్డింగ్, ఆ జంక్షన్లోనే మెయిన్ రోడ్ నుంచి సెకండ్ బిల్డింగ్. ఒకతే వచ్చిందా? రైట్, సో because of this, right, public administration has lost its identity. Right, so there is a loss of identity by public administration. Right, so because of challenging the principles of basic principles of public administration, that is both dichotomy and what you call principles, right? Both dichotomy and principles were challenged. Because of this, PubMed lost its identity. Right, so this is what about stage 2. So take down a question. Explain the criticisms on science of public administration. Explain the criticisms on the science of public administration. Explain the criticisms on science of public administration. Raised by Robert Dahl. Science of public administration raised by Robert Dahl. This is very important question for exam. Chala important exam kadi. Alright, so for now let's stop the class here. We'll meet in tomorrow's class. Alright, yes.